All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in with us tonight for the Georgia Game Developers live stream. I am your host, the Associate Channel Manager, your boy, Super M from the Combo Breakers podcast, and I am joined today by some very special guests. I'm going to go from the center and out to the left. I like to shake things up a little bit. First off, we have Stephanie Marlowe. She is the founder of Artist Life Vision and Life Vision VR. And joining her today are two developers with her. To her right, we have Tavio. Am I saying that correctly? Yes. Tavio Castrillo, lead developer and creative services. He's also here with Mr. 3D. That you can check them out at mixed3d.com. And what they're involved in is with full body 3D scanning, right?
Correct.
Awesome. And last but definitely not least, we have another developer with us, Riley Hallbell.
Close enough.
Close enough. I thought I would have it today. Can you please say your name?
Riley Hobel.
Hallbell.
Yeah.
Got that wrong. Thank you guys for joining us today. How are you feeling?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us.
Glad to be with you. So before we get into the game that we're going to kind of preview today, I want to give our viewers a little chance to get to know you guys a little better. So Stephanie, could you please tell us a little bit about the company you're here with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder of Life Vision VR. We work on multiple projects, from games to virtual reality to augmented reality. We are currently, we have a project going on in Atlanta where we're activating the entire city. So we're working with multiple big name and small name artists, and we've given them a bit of real estate within an augmented reality app. It's called ATL AR. It's on iOS and Android. And so we work on that a little bit. We're working on the games, like I said, and 360 video production. We're pretty much partnered up with a lot of different people in town right now with our hands
Nice.
and quite a few different pots. So it's pretty cool.
And so how long have you been doing this for?
We're about to go on our third year.
Wow.
So we're still pretty new.
Well, congratulations, man.
thank you.
Three years is a pretty good time, man.
Yeah.
So, just for a question, how did everybody here get together? Like, what was the backstory that kind of brought you guys to working together?
I'll take a little bit of this one.
Sure.
So we actually met through another person here in town, and we were all brought together on a day to do 3D scans. He was brought with some of his classmates, and I was brought in just because I'm Life Vision VR, so why not?
Right.
And Tavio is where we were brought to Mr. 3D. So
We were presented the opportunity to scan in a VR class to take their likeness, digitize them, and then provide the data to put in their own VR environment. So Riley in his class and accompanied by Steph.
I was
came
a
by.
student. I was a student in that class, but after graduating, I tried to take my skills forward to good results. I hope.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. So, as an entrepreneur, I know the field of AR and VR is really new, right? 3 years, you must have just saw it and just said, "Hey, that's what I'm going to go jump into."
Yeah.
So, what kind of gave you that initial thought to say, "Hey, this is the field that I want to take my entrepreneurial skills in"?
Well, the minute that I saw it as an open industry, being an entrepreneur and being interested in visual arts in general, it was like a no-brainer. It's an open market. At my age, I haven't seen an open market yet. Everything's saturated. There's always talented people and just talent everywhere, whatever
Absolutely.
field, whatever industry. And so I saw it as an open industry where it's like, okay, well, this actually seems like a fair game to jump in. So let's jump in. And, my reach goes as far as running the basic operations of the business and doing some 360 productions also. So I knew that I needed to extend out past you can't do everything as one person, but just having, people to come on who can actually create virtual worlds and augmented worlds and do all the fun coding and techie stuff that I'm not quite inclined to. And, I think we all work together pretty well overall. We help each other out as needed, and it's pretty neat setup. I'm pretty proud personally.
That sounds really awesome. So, for the creative guys, the world builders, the geniuses, if you will, what kind of brought you guys to the world of AR and VR?
I'll let Riley start.
So it was actually a pretty dramatic shift for me. Previously, I was, taking internships and going pursuant to a career in cybersecurity, like security analysis, reverse engineering, until I put on the headset. and that literally changed, I'd say, my life, because the amount of the presence, the sheer the awe, but then like the consistency of the experience as it wraps around you and you can reach out and touch it. It was just like too compelling to
Yeah.
resist, and I saw an opportunity and never looked back.
How about you, Tavio?
So I've always been a bit of a tinkerer. Like, if there's some electronics, I'll like to take it apart and see how it works. I don't think anything is like good as is. I think you should be able to modify it and make it better. So along those lines, the Oculus DK1 came out and I had a pre-order. And once I put that thing on, similar to Riley's experience, it's like, holy cow, this is a game changer. From there, augmented reality was kind of a buzzword, and so I started, researching that, getting into AR, and then Mr. 3D kind of happened in between that time, and me and my team, meaning Stephanie, and from there it just kind of came to fruition.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a match made in heaven, guys. So speaking of the work that you do, you mentioned activating the city earlier. Now that's something that I want to talk to about a little bit if we can get some time here.
Yeah.
So kind of expand on the idea. So how are you using AR and VR to activate the city? Because this sounds like some future stuff here.
Yeah. So with the augmented reality app, we have multiple artists and a couple small businesses, and you can go and scan their items and or art pieces, and they activate, according to whatever type of art it is. So right now we're working with Squishy Puss. I don't know if you know his art around town. You probably have seen it. Everybody has seen it.
Okay, so it's there.
everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're working with him to augment some of his artwork. Amani Christor just finished a mural down on the west side, so we're actually going to bring that entire mural to life. They're working on the modeling of that right now. We've got Gatsby is a great example. He got a 3D scan from Mr. 3D. He was holding his paintbrush, and so the augmented pop-up that comes off of anything Gatsby now is his 3D scan painting what he actually paints around the city, his tag. So it's pretty neat, and it brings it into the augmented fashion realm. So let's see, God, we're also working with Fresh Baked Goods, which has a store on Edgewood. Just quite a few artists, to where they're everything from fashion to murals to pens to anything that's got the design on it will activate. So we're activating the city.
Wow, I can't wait to experience this. I'm in my mind, I'm just kind of thinking about how many different ways you could bring this artwork to life, and even just not only that, but some more informative things too. You may be able to drop some quick facts and links, or you're going to be able to maybe go through these links and click and get some more information, or buy a service or something like that.
It starts to get extremely overwhelming when you realize that the entire world just now needs to be transferred over into augmented. Like, that's pretty much what it is. It's just everything we do just needs to now be augmented.
And see, this is why I'm just waiting for augmented wearables. I'm just waiting for my glasses to be able to tell me pertinent information about my day, and I can.
I know. We're all there.
Oh, my heart! I'm seeing flashbacks of like Ready Player One and having an entire visual representation of Amazon at my feet.
Yep.
To just be able to dive in. Okay, so I have a few questions for you as an entrepreneur, right? So a lot of people, and a lot of people watching this cast today, will be seeing some of the things that we're going to go over and be like, man, I really want to get into this, I really want to jump in, I really want to express my ideas. But I know from a few ventures that I've stepped out into, it takes a bit more to kind of weather the storm. There are going to be a lot of unforeseen pitfalls, there are going to be a lot of challenges, and most importantly, a lot of opportunities to grow and rise above some challenges. So before we get into the game, could you just express to some of our viewers, maybe like the top 3 to 5 qualities you see yourself, or if anyone would like to follow in the footsteps or follow in this path, maybe jump in, what are some of the qualities you think that they should be looking towards within themselves, and maybe in some teammates as well? Because like you said, it takes a village.
It does. You can't do it by yourself. Absolutely. So one of the things I have to say that I will continue to say is within this realm, specifically, you have to be 200% in, if not 300% sometimes.
Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, the industry is changing so much, devices are changing so much, the ability to grab things and intertwine them together, it's all changing at such a rapid rate that, you know, you can be working on one thing and next thing you know, you've got it, and then adapt it to what has changed within the 24 hours, right? So takes 200, 300%, you know, so you've really, really got to be prepared. And then just like any business, you are going to have your downfalls. You know, you have to figure out, you're in a new market. There's not going to be a large return on investment at first, you know,
Right.
which means you have to keep chugging along. You have to really, truly have a passion for what you're doing, because if you don't, you won't be able to make it. And then comes the team. You have to have a very, very strong team that's great at communicating, can get along and can actually speak to each other on pros and cons without there being issues, you know, and that's problematic, you know, not all of the time, but you never know when you have a whole group of people and everybody's got an idea.
Right.
You never know who might not mesh with the group, you know, appropriately, and you got to deal with those things. On the good stuff, I mean, you wake up every day knowing that there could be a change of opportunity. You don't know who's going to call you or email you that next day based on something you may have done a few months prior, you know, and all of a sudden this opportunity can just drop, and so you want to be ready for it, which means that you need to be on it all the time so that you're ready when those opportunities drop, and trust your people that you've got working with you, because that's why you brought them in. And I guess that would pretty much cover the majority of the basis. And be strong, be ready,
Oh, yeah.
and don't expect anybody else to care what you're doing. Just do it for yourself, your team, and make sure that everybody around you is happy, and it's not about the others.
I couldn't have said any of that any better myself. That was wonderful. All right. Well, with that being said,
I
let's
would,
jump.
I would say don't be
we're gonna
don't
add
be
on to
scared
that.
to fail.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
failing
absolutely.
forward is something that I hear a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you guys, from the outside looking in, I see the finished product, right? And I see the wonderful packaging, the cute little toy. I've played the app a little bit. It's amazing. And I'm thinking, man, this probably just came together, but I'm pretty sure you guys. I get Tavio shaking his head like if you
We
only
won't get
knew.
into specifics, but
Yeah.
you know,
Tavio did an incredible job. Without getting into too many specifics, he was not the first developer on this, and we had some issues within the company that had to change up. And Tavio was like, "All right, yeah, let's go." And in the time that we had allotted from the issue time until release date, he did an incredible job. I'm super proud personally. You know, yeah.
keep inflating my ego. But back to the question.
yes.
Anything you're passionate about, jump in with both feet. Don't be scared to fail. That's I think one of the biggest piece of advice I've ever gotten. So yeah.
Awesome. And Riley, I've got a question for you because you're young, right?
I'm 18.
18,
Yeah.
right? I'm just not getting into it. A lot of people will think that, you know, I'm not old enough to do this, or there are a lot of reasons why people will talk themselves out of jumping into untested waters. So if anybody in your age group who, you know, you would hear their reasons for not wanting to step forward, if you have any words for them before we get started.
Well, yeah, it's a really scary time, and I can't tell you what's going to come next, only that, you know, so long as I have this, and I have been, you know, like developing my skills in computer science, you know, software development, you know, all since before high school, but it's definitely scary to go off the beaten path, but if you have this vision of what you're passionate about and how this technology will change the future, then you'll never really be lost, you know. Sounds a little cliche.
It's like a
Follow
slow
your
clap.
dreams.
Right? Yeah,
but, like,
I'm feeling the motivation.
Inspirational.
yeah, it's a little cliche and cheesy, I guess. But you know, we live in an age where information is so readily accessible that you can at the very least, you can develop your skills on your side, and where you take that, you know, it is a big question, you know, employance, you know, or, you know, through university or whatever. But so long as you have it, right, you can make it.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, let's get this underway. The game that we have, and many of other things we're going to talk about, is Road Rage, right? So introduce us to the game.
I'm gonna let Tavio and if
Tavio.
that's
Yeah.
cool. I can.
Road Rage AR Racing. Go pick it up right now, everybody. Yeah, so the initial task was to kind of take this toy and base and come up with an essentially infinite runner kind of base around it or game around it. So the original concept was to kind of have the toy and or base be the target, and the game environment would form around it, and then use the touch controls on your phone, and that was kind of the initial concept. And then we had a toy from China that we kind of used as our kind of proof of concept to get it going, and then from there they went into manufacture and or they went to production, and we're kind of here now.
Yeah. So we teamed up with Smart Theater VR. They got in touch with us and said, hey, we want to do this tank game, and maybe it runs over things, So we're like, okay, great, we can do that,
Right.
So thankfully they took care of the manufacturing, they took care of the sales. Certain things that you run into, come to find out, are you can have a sample. And then when the actual printed one comes out, the size is just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Or the contrast is a little different, So there were a few little tweaks here and there that had to be made, right at the end of about to shoot the gun, had to make a little tweaks. But it came out great, and everybody seems to really, really enjoy playing it so far. Like, they're all pretty intrigued by it. I personally enjoy watching when people finally realize that there's an entire world. Because first you just hold it on the box.
That's what I did, yeah.
And then once you actually like move around and see that you can manipulate from where you're playing, and then you can see like, oh, there's clouds and a whole city, and I think that's a huge part of it.
Awesome. So to answer the question of which came first, the toy or the game, it was the toy.
It was
the toy.
It was the idea of the toy,
Ah.
and that was from our buddies out there in California with Smart Theater. And
So did you find that a little limiting to the game design process, or was that just enough focus that you needed to really kind of get things rolling?
I would say it's not an ideal way to start. With these tools being so easy to use and accessible right now, there are still some hurdles, especially with model targets, and this is kind of getting a little heavy in dev. So ideally, from starting a game, I would have liked to have started with the concept of the game first and then implement the toy afterwards. But, this is what we had to work with, so.
Yeah, no, the
we
products
made it
came
work.
out awesome.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing. Like when I played it,
Thank you.
I was hooked. I was like, this is going to absorb so much of my time. Oh my God, at work, I'm just going to be trying to squish zombies.
Excellent.
And zombie, this is the perfect game for Atlanta, right? Because it has two elements that just remind me of Atlanta. You've got your road rage. If anyone who's ever driven on 285, they know the road rage is real. And then you've got
real.
zombies.
So real.
You know? So did the zombie aspect come into where did the zombies come into this for the concept?
So we threw out a bunch of different concepts, of what's going to get smashed. Something is going to get run over. What needs to get run over? And
Can you share a few of the early what would you throw on the board?
Old ladies were put up there.
Oh!
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was like maybe we had
Ouch.
like a blue haired,
purple
blue,
hair.
yeah,
Little
yeah,
bonnets and
maybe
canes.
whipping her hand out, and then we ultimately decided that maybe for
It's a kid game.
a kid
after
game,
all, so.
we should probably bring it maybe to zombies, which I don't know,
Everyone loves to go run over a good zombie.
Hey,
Yeah,
yeah, so we went through a little bit of that, and then there was a little bit on the how do we want this to play, Smart Theater had their specifics, they really wanted it to be able to be played from the back. Well, as the AR company, VR company, we want to be able to really immerse and play, you
Right.
know. So that was a part of a debate that we all had, and we spoke about and we expressed, why and how and yeah. So it kind of just all came together like really well, and there were some pitfalls, but thankfully the partners we have are great. we're all pretty open in communications,
Yeah.
and we're all pretty easygoing. So it's not, if something was a little bit too challenging, then it wasn't anything for the other one to bend a little bit. So
Cool. Well, before we get too far into it, I want to show everyone a little bit of what the game looks like. We get some
Sure.
get some visuals. Maybe I could get a second chance at that
Yeah.
high score. Like I want to see if I could set my high score for the night. I think I was like at 1260 at first, and ooh, road rage,
Let's see if it'll trigger.
aka my commute. So with the toy, I have some questions about the toy. I see it's nice and articulated. We got some action going on left and right, and it actually moves. Now I love toys, especially when we're the kids. This is me all day when I was a child, just kind of moving along, letting my imagination kind of soar a
Yep.
little bit. Who has the high score in the office? I just want to see
It's me right now, but I'm
What are the
setting
numbers?
up.
where the numbers.
I think honestly, I think you've beaten it already.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh!
But I'm trying to set up an office pool and do something pretty fun. Well, at least like so we're gonna add some additional levels, and before I do that, I want to have like a top tier scoreboard for
Okay.
everyone. You know.
All right, so when we get in here, so we have our main screen, tap anywhere to begin. And I like to tap in the center right here. And we have our stages. So where this highlight is here, is that our first stage right
Yes,
there?
correct.
So we double tap here, get the loading screen, and you can play with either the toy or the base, correct? Now, is there just a difference between the two? What was what drove that option?
Yes. So, depending on your phone
Mhm.
and how new it is and the operating system it's running, sometimes the target is more ideal to play. Also, the lighting and the environment you're in, the physical environment you're in. And this can go back to your question before about whether we would have liked to start with the tank or the toy first versus development first. But we'll get back to that later. But for now, like the base is really, if you have an older phone or you want some really solid gameplay, use the base for right now.
Nice.
Okay.
And
That's
some-
why you get the option on that screen.
Okay.
there.
yeah,
So
we
let's
want to make sure the
try to
compatibility is
do-
there for everybody possible.
Yeah, that reaches as many people as
Yeah.
you can. All right, we're gonna try the base first. So we double tap the base icon here, and and there we go, already to the races.
Yep.
So you were saying about the world here. We've got the clouds coming in. We got to say hello to everybody in the back. Now, this is very, very awesome. Okay, so I'm going to try to
It just
uh-oh.
snapped a little bit.
just
Yep,
snap a
you
little bit,
skipped
snap
off
it
it a
back,
little
but
bit.
boom, there
There
we
we
go. Now, can you explain talk to a little bit about the design decisions that went into the game mechanics that are at play?
Yes. With the kind of finite timeline provided with this project, we kind of depended on a lot of pre-existing assets. So I kind of came up with a design and kind of look that would kind of follow through and be consistent throughout the
Try to be
game.
slick.
But
Oh, no!
but a lot of this was just with the time involved, how fast can we get it done?
Mhm.
And that's kind of what led the design and kind of
We had a
everything.
shelf deadline for CVS pharmacies,
Yes.
so it had to be ready for it to be on shelf. So thankfully, we got that.
I'd say it.
And so it is in CVS. Is it there now? Could we go and buy this, or when would it hit shelves?
It's on shelves now.
Nice.
We haven't figured out which stores here in Georgia.
Okay.
But it is covering a large amount of the CVS pharmacies. So there are definitely some here in Georgia. We just haven't figured out which stores yet.
Yeah.
We do. We do have some contests going on also to be able to win a couple free swag bags. So
Ooh.
that's also an
Well,
option. out
I'll
there.
be a part of the contest for sure.
And they're on Amazon too, right?
Yeah, they are also on Amazon. Hmm.
Now, I've noticed while playing the game, first thing that comes across me is the satisfying squish sound when I run over zombies. So who was in charge of the sound development?
I was. Yeah, I had carte blanche over the whole project essentially. I obviously relied on a lot of my teammates for feedback and critique and things like that. But You know, everything just kind of fell into place, fortunately, with this project. Sans the technical hurdles, which there are always going to be in game development. But yeah, took care of all of it.
And so, as I play some of this here, we have a question. Whoa! From Virix to Dream Core. Whoa! Is this all in augmented reality? The whole
Yes.
thing?
Yes. Well, sans the menu screens, the gameplay is all in AR.
Okay. And about the gameplay, it's an infinite runner, right? And so we have multiple stages. Do I kind of just play until I lose and then go to another stage, or is there like a point where it transitions?
New stages aren't implemented yet. We're currently working on the next 2 stages. What we have kind of on the whiteboard right now is that once you hit a certain score threshold, it'll unlock the next stage. Jeff, our other main developer, wants kind of a finish line, and I'm like, that's not really an infinite runner, though.
Yeah.
So that's still potentially up to debate, but I'm gonna implement like a top score, and once you hit that, it'll unlock the next stage.
Yeah.
And each stage is gonna progressively kind of get worse and worse. So this is like the escape, right? Like you
Yeah, you
got
can
the
see
tank,
the zone gets a little bit more
and you're
hardcore.
dipping out of
towards
town.
the back.
so the
okay.
cars are in the way. You got to run over the zombies. The next stage, like it's gonna be darker. Things are gonna be on fire, and
Okay.
there's gonna be more zombies, but you'll be able to shoot.
What,
You'll
like
shoot the
cars,
cars
on
out of the
fire,
way.
all kind of mayhem.
Yeah, more mayhem.
Yeah.
And then the third stage is gonna be like completely dark,
Mhm.
super hard to see, and it's gonna be pretty hardcore.
Those are gonna be. See, what I like about this is that as I was showing earlier, you're able to see everyone else.
Yeah.
So this is also good for if anybody wants to live stream this. You can kind of just see the people cheering you on. Maybe
Yeah.
cosplay some people and some zombies off to the side. And
That'd
you
be
know,
fantastic.
that would be awesome. And honestly, I really like the idea of having the stage transition while you're playing as you meet a certain score threshold, because it seems like you're heading towards the danger zone. So speaking of the game and developing it, can you give us a little technical rundown of what was it developed in?
So we use Unity for the engine and you know, whatever ancillary software for textures or 3D models or whatever we need. Cinema 4D, Photoshop, the essentials, you know.
And the assets that were used to for the 3D modeling, and also some of the assets for the graphics, I really love. I'm a designer, and I really appreciate a good logo. You know, it really kind of sets it apart. So tell me some of the design choices that went into the logo, and maybe what made you guys choose like the isometric view on the front cover and everything.
So that was actually Smart Theater.
Oh,
That's Josh with Smart Theater. So what their part in this is they did the marketing, they did the sales, and then they did the packaging design, and then we did the development based from those. So yeah, that's Josh who killed it. He did a great job. That's all their team.
awesome. And
Yeah.
did they provide you with the 3D assets as well, or was that all done in house?
No.
So that was in house. Again, for sake of timing, as a designer, you know, sometimes if time is not allotted, you may use additional resources. So unfortunately, some of this stuff was stock that I modified myself, or the main tank in game was designed by one of our in-house modelers, and then a lot of the stuff was just tweaked Unity Store assets, or pre-existing assets that I could get,
But optimized.
And
but optimized for
But
sure.
optimized.
with the stickers, which are also going to be on shelves, it's a separate app. It's Dreamlab AR. With these we did have the time because it did start. It was just the one developer and modeler on it for the whole project. So all of these are individually modeled in house. All the soundscapes are done in house. This is every bit of this did
Made
have the
in-house.
time to be able to be done in house.
Fantastic too.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, those are.
that's really great. I'm just a sucker for good design, and I love the presentation on everything. It looks so super polished.
You should check out the dancing frog on this. I think you might like it. I don't.
Snap. Let me
Yeah.
go ahead and let me
You said you had Dreamlab on
Yeah,
there.
I
right?
can load it up.
Oh, yes, I love it. So, from the business side of things, how did you score this deal with CVS? Because that's really nice.
It is huge, and I wish I could take credit for it because that would be great. But no, that was on their end. That was part of their promise. That was their part is to get it into stores. We just developed. So the sales person who works with Smart Theater VR, he helped with Lisa Frank. And Cabbage Patch Dolls getting into stores. So we were extremely lucky. However, so they were our sponsors for about a year prior to any AR toy idea coming. So they've actually provided us and Atlanta with a bunch of headsets that we've gone out pop-up style, given away for free and given away experiences. So it was just natural for them to call us when they came up with this idea and see if we could do it. And we were like, yeah, if you guys can handle all of that big boy stuff that I don't have hands on, I don't know. And they were like, yeah, if you can handle all this stuff we don't understand. And I was like, yeah, sounds like a great relationship. Let's do it.
Really
Yeah,
awesome.
and then contracts.
Yeah.
And then contracts.
Of course, gotta have the contracts. Well, I don't want you to divulge too much stuff about the contract things, but I did
Yeah, no.
have a question. So, there are many ways that game developers, when they develop the games, they choose to monetize, especially with apps. You know, we have in-game purchases up front. The game is free, correct? And you can buy the toy that accompanies it at CVS,
$4.99.
$4.99. Right? Everybody's got $5.
Everybody has $5.
Are there any other plans for monetization? Will there be like in-app purchases or upgrades or anything like that?
Right now, we've considered in-app purchases for cosmetic upgrades to the tank or the levels and stuff. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of in-app purchases for certain products, especially for things tailored to small children. So I think that's still up to debate right now. But,
Yeah. For this project specifically, we all just wanted to get a good quality toy on the shelves that people could easily play with and get a good idea of AR without throwing in the additional traps for children. Basically, I know it's a zombie fighting game, but we are still trying to stay somewhat ethical in this. Okay,
I mean, killing zombies is always ethical. When the
right? I mean,
end times come,
right? Yeah,
you're gonna
you
be
have
glad
to.
these
You have
kids
to.
grown up.
But with those are implemented within our other plans past the toys. But yeah, with this specifically because we are targeting children, we are trying to target correctly.
Sure. So, will there another question with the tanks is, will there be other tanks? You know, are we going to be able to upgrade, get some new toys on the shelves, maybe?
So it's really hush hush. So I'm not going to say this into the microphone or anything. But there may be other versions coming.
Nice.
We'll just all have to wait to see.
Oh, awesome. Very
and
awesome.
not just infinite runners either.
Oh, giving up the goods. Well, when you guys are ready to release that out, we would love to get the exclusive first look, of course.
We've got you.
With this project, right? And there's always those things. I know you guys were under time constraints and you had to like get it out there on the shelves. If you had to do it all over again, right? Knowing that this would be the project, same criteria, you got the tank up front, What are some of the things that you would do differently from a design standpoint and from a development standpoint?
I'm gonna let Riley take this one.
You mean in regards to really? In regards to Road Rage or development?
I would
in
let
general?
Riley do it.
Oh, Riley.
In regards to what's the
Road Rage,
question?
yeah.
Well,
So-
Tavio took ahead development, but I could definitely talk about, as someone that hasn't really my skill set wasn't in like any capacity like a 3D engine. I wrote kind of low level like C code and Visual Basic and stuff like that. That there's a lot more networked functionality and there are a lot more performance pitfalls than you think we can take. It's particularly for the two types of development we do: virtual reality to 1080p screens rendering very, very fast; augmented reality, mobile platform based, lots of different phones, lots of different hardware. Both of these require a very high degree of optimization.
Right.
To be pushed to the limit of what we can do. And in like the Unity engine, that comes in strange places. In regards to what your scripts are doing and how they're doing them, it's definitely a lot more complicated, I'd say, than other projects I've worked on that aren't in 3D engines. And also a lot of it is, well, the other developers practice what I call witchcraft, and what they call
Yes,
I'm
it's all, it's
familiar
all
with
magic
this
at the end of the
3D
day.
shaders and 3D whatnot.
So what-
Well, to kind of add on to that, I wouldn't necessarily, like looking back on the project, I wouldn't necessarily change anything, but I would have liked to have been more prepared. I feel like, like as a designer, you come up with a concept and sketches 1st, so you kind of have something to work against. Time's obviously a huge thing, but yeah, like if I could have been a little more prepared, that would have been pretty cool.
I really just came in and I was like, Tavio, I really, can you do this? Because I can't do this. And he's like, I think so. And then what was it, a week later? He's like, so I got grand jury duty. And so that,
I remember
so
that.
so not only did he, because I was like, oh God, is he going to actually have the time, now with this? And so he
Twice a week for
he accomplished
8
both.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't have another shirt under there with an S on your chest or something, man? Is there a phone booth?
Just
you
a lot of caffeine and Red Bull and caffeine.
Prayers, anger.
Yeah, a lot of breaks to go and just throw stuff and come back.
Now there's other vices for taking care of that.
It kind of comes back to the beginning of our conversation where I was saying that you just have to be really prepared when opportunity strikes. You have to like really be prepared to do whatever your best is within the constraints that are given.
Absolutely.
And that this is a prime example of that on all of our parts, really, I think.
So I have a question based off of what you just said, Riley. The optimization for multiple mobile platforms. I know that is definitely a challenge, especially, you design the whole thing and now you have to worry about it working across the board. So what are some of the things that you guys have to kind of give us an example of some of the things specifically with this project, if you can, the hurdles that you had to kind of jump over and solve in the areas of not only optimization for different mobile platforms, because to my understanding, this is on both Android and iOS, correct? I can play it on the Google phone, right?
Yep.
My Nokia, it still
Yeah,
works.
this is a Google.
Yeah, so some of the optimization hurdles that you had to jump over, and how did you problem solve them?
So problem solving is well, to get on both stores, anticipate you designing wholeheartedly in one and then switching over to the other one and everything being completely broken, and then just kind of recovering from that and starting over again.
Is that expected from when you're working in mobile? Is it just
If you do anticipate it and expect it, it'll be less of a hit at the end of the day. It's really not that bad, but
I would
just
disagree.
development in general it's not A to B. It's a journey with many different trails and forks in the road.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No, except that, iOS presents its host of challenges. Android particularly, like we can throw 8 Android phones into a ring and just load our projects onto each one and be like, what's broken here, what's broken here, particularly with AR technology, it's with machine vision. And that's really important. And with a bunch of different cameras, with a bunch of different capabilities, it can get annoying.
Well, Riley's from his background, testing a regular game, you can just virtualize it
Right.
on different machines or platforms. But unfortunately, you can't on mobile because it can't emulate the camera or
There's certain steps you can take, but in the end, it's patchwork solutions to emulate different cameras, and none really work. In the end, we have to test on whatever
You guys
devices
got
we
like
can.
one of every phone just ready to go.
It feels like it.
Phone and
It
friends.
really-
It's
it
like,
really
hey,
is.
phone and
Phone and
friends,
friends,
phone and
yeah.
friends.
So did you outsource, like, do you have like an alpha phase and you outsource to your friends to kind of catch all of the bugs, as many as you could?
We do we've got beer guys come over and hang out,
Yeah.
and then we just run them over with soundscapes and toys and AR stuff.
Cool.
And then Yeah, we're like, here, just drop this on your phone real quick.
You called it a tester party, right?
Yeah, the tester parties.
Those sound like great
Yeah,
times.
it's pretty fun.
So outside of the optimization, right? What are some other challenges that you guys face working within the AR sphere? I know you said that just being able to get the tracking has come a long way. Is it to the point now where that's not the thing you have to worry about, or is it still a lot of kind of working with that and making sure everything is tracking okay? Because that's the big thing that when it jumps or skips or doesn't track or doesn't scan, those are huge pitfalls that you have to kind of navigate around.
The particular AR engine we're using, they update it quite frequently, which is good because it implements, better tracking and, new tools and new ways to use the AR, but it doesn't necessarily retrofit with what you've built. So a lot of times you'll upgrade hoping that it's going to track 10 times better, like they say in the new release notes, but then it breaks your entire game or experience. So then you got to go back and figure out what happened there. So the tools are getting better. I think the biggest common denominator right now is everyone just has a different phone, and it's not consistent. Like in VR development, there's only a handful of sets to use, so at least you have a smaller kind of window to work with there. But with mobile, it's just a completely different beast. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So, well, one thing for me, now this one be one of my few questions before we're going to jump on to some other projects you guys want to talk about. I love to get high scores, right? And I have devised a little bit of a strategy, as we saw earlier on, to kind of get some scores up. What's some general tips for maybe some people who may be watching here who's like, man, I really might get stuck. Now, those triple cars, they got me a couple of times. There wasn't any way for me to get through those, but maybe some general gameplay tips for those who want to score the most.
Patience. It's really an infinite runner at the end of the day. So it's how much you're going to put into it. So it's all random. So keep that in mind. If you get 5 cars in a row, I didn't program it like that. It's just the way it went. But yeah, just make sure you're in like a pretty decent, well lit area, and make sure your finger's not in the way of the camera, and just have fun with it. That's my biggest piece of advice.
And he did kind of fool everybody at the beginning where it starts a little slow. So you can adjust and you can feel like, okay, I've got this. And the next thing you know, it's actually at an average speed type game where you're like, oh, wait, no. Now I really have to play. So I think that's something to look out for too, is like, don't get too cocky.
That's what I did.
Don't get too cocky.
Ended up in the 1200 range. Now with the cars and the zombies though, one thing that I tried to do when I played it the first time was I was like, oh, I'm going to start counting the cars and seeing if they're in the same places so I can, I just tried to see if there's a rhythm to it, and I found out that it was very random. And I personally didn't run into the same configuration of cars and zombies. Is it completely random the whole way through?
Yes, it's supposed to be at least.
All right. So no cheating, folks. So Andrew recommends that the team check out our recent Mobile Labs presentation on the Game Developers Association YouTube channel to see how to test on all phones.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
About
Yeah,
like
Andrew.
virtual software. Is it like a VM type of deal?
I haven't seen it myself. Andrew, if you can let us know, is it a VM type of deal, or how do we?
Sorry, I should have been more precise.
No. If Andrew can give us an answer on that, that'd be great, because that's some really useful tips there.
Yeah.
Man, it's progress. All right, so he said it's similar.
Gotcha.
It's a cloud testing service.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll have
Yeah.
to look into that.
So from your perspective, how valuable is that? Like, did you just land on a gold mine just here? Did we just drop some nuggets, or was that kind of like, oh, okay, that's nice?
If I may.
Yes.
I mean, I'd have to look into it, but the idea of virtual hardware on cloud side, I'd have to see what they offer, because we can run VMs for these phones with our unique set of challenges pertaining to camera hardware. With like cloud virtualization, what they could offer that would support some of those pitfalls that we have would definitely be worth checking out and researching. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, would you like to give us a little bit of information on some other projects that you're working on before we close out today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are working with a few different people in town, like we said, and one of those groups is Sky Creature Productions. The last Sunday, we just finished up our first event, being Transmigration, and so we're actually taking sensory theater and the arts and combining it with not only VR video but also augmented reality. So we are bringing what we know to be something pretty new to Atlanta with this. We're working with an award-winning team, and they're well known here in town for their just immersions, right? And so we've brought our immersions in, and now we're trying to figure out a new word so that we're not each saying immersions with two different definitions,
Right.
because we're making something new and intertwining. So we've got the 360 experience that goes along with it. I personally really enjoy doing post production and working with 360 cameras. It's a completely different realm, different beast. So we're bringing that to the table, and then with the actual show, you'll actually be able to see within the character's mind through the
Sensory theater, which is a phrase that I haven't heard before.
Okay.
So if we could step back a little
yeah
bit.
yeah
Give us a
Okay.
a description of what is sensory theater. Is it, hopefully it's what I'm thinking in my
So I
in
can
my
give you
head.
an idea of what Sky Creature Productions sensory theater is.
Okay.
Okay, because I also am new to the sensory theater thing. I heard about it at the beginning of this year, and I was like, oh, I have to implement what we do with that, you know? So then I searched out and found. So what they do is you come in and say it's a 5-part play. You're going to be led to all of the different rooms, and there will be different rooms by the actors. You will have people next to you that you don't even know are actors until a certain point within. There's also food and drink that go along and are curated specifically to go along with whatever spectrum they're trying to put you into, right? So let's say that, as an example, let's say that you have a character who's kind of losing their mind, right? You can feel that the character can do an amazing job, but you can't actually see into their mind. So that's where we're going to bring the augmented element and combine that.
Wow.
So that's some of the other stuff we're doing.
I love this. Sounds like such a wonderful new experience, which is something that we lack. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
In the age of technology, there aren't that many new experiences. Vector Maestro says that I'm glad I caught a bit of the podcast. Thank you for sharing. And Virix Dreamcore says, mixed reality? That sounds awesome. I mean, that sounds about as mixed reality can get because of the central input.
That's one of my personal missions, is to see how much of this stuff we can actually intertwine, mix, and make sense to whatever audience, guest, users. You know, I mean, right now it's all a lab test.
Yeah.
We've got our basic rules, but it's a free playground for all of us to hop in and be like, hey, how crazy can we get with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me, mostly because just like we said, the effect when you first put on a VR headset, it's like senses are engaged that never had to be engaged before. Like it's amazing how you have to sometimes tell people, hey, you can look around, you don't have to stare straight forward. So our vision is completely locked in, and so is our hearing, especially with 360-degree sound. And it's funny to me that sometimes our eyes and ears are so used to being stimulated with medium, but sense of taste, sense of smell, I don't even know if there's a word for a story that is told through smell or taste. I know it's, a movie for your visuals, maybe some music for your ears, but mixed reality, it's right now it's just combining VR and AR, but like
Right.
getting all of the senses in. Can you imagine?
I'm trying.
That's amazing.
We're
call it
we're
immersive.
trying.
That's that. Now
It is.
that
I
is
call it
immersive.
and that's what they're trying to do a
yeah.
little bit, I think.
And so, how do you envision you guys kind of stepping in and really enhancing this or making use of this idea of sensory theater?
Well, with my back knowledge of filming in 360, we're trying to bring a certain portion of VR within it, and then bring the AR also. really it's like I said before, it's just crossing boundaries, stepping over lines that where it's like, does this make sense? I don't know, let's figure it out.
Right.
So we're gonna really try and just push the limits as much as possible. The great part is that most of you guys don't even know what the limits are. So
Yeah.
we can fall a little below, or we can come a little bit above, and we should still fall into a nice little medium cozy, like, oh, that was awesome type of place.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
so yeah.
You could just put somebody in a sitting VR experience, 360-degree video, and it's still mind blowing, especially to the
Yeah.
uninitiated.
Well, with Miriam's team and my team pieced up together, you know, like on Sunday night at Transmigration, she curated and staged the areas where people would be viewing the VR that we were showing. So you know, you were standing in a forest type of realm. And then we'd put you in the headset, you know. So we really are trying to fully immerse in every way that we can. Yeah.
That's awesome. So,
Thanks.
are there any other projects you'd like to put out there for us today?
Well, we spoke about the ATLAR.
Yes.
That I think is probably the coolest one for this city. You know, we can work with musicians, artists, businesses, and you know, I mean, it's just we've set it up to where, so it's expensive to develop and have your own app, right? So what we have is we have augmented reality real estate, if you will. You know,
And explain that. So, how do I get it some?
okay,
some land?
so for instance, right, combo breaks, right?
Mhm.
So let's say that you wanted to augment your shirt,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it doesn't. You can't afford the cost. The return on investment just doesn't make sense to
Right.
pay us thousands of dollars and our third parties that we work with. You know, because there's third party costs that are
Licensing's
fun.
expensive.
Yeah, that come into play. You can't afford that. It doesn't make sense. Even if you could, you'd be an idiot to toss your money down on it like that.
Yeah.
So we've developed ATLAR with the idea of having real estate placement. So now it's affordable. You can either pay $300, $700, or $1,000, and we do the design for you, and then you pay a $10 to $20 a month placement fee. And you know, that's just a yearly fee,
It's kind of like web hosting and a website for
if
VR.
you will.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we do the 3D
Subscription
modeling and
service,
design, you know, and program it for you, and that way, you know, it's a collective cost instead of each person having to try and really build their own app, because
Right.
it's just not possible at this point in time. It will be, but right now it's just not cost effective.
Yeah, it's still a very young field,
Mm-hmm.
and the media likes to make it seem like VR and AR is just so far ahead of the curve, and it's right here. And a lot of people are still figuring out the best practices and optimization, not only in the games but in business practices as well. You know, things aren't cheap. You know,
Yeah.
so this is an absolutely great idea because someone like me has a lot of VR dreams. Nowhere near VR budget.
Right, right.
So just for me, how much of a lift? And you said it's not cheap to build. How much a lift is it to develop an AR app? Like, so for the average person, we have like absolutely no idea how much work goes into some of these productions.
Not to dissuade anyone from jumping into development, because the beauty of this is these tools are free. It's up until you want to monetize it that the licensing fees come in.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Then I'll
exactly,
let
exactly.
Stephanie take it from there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you mind asking the question again? I was
Oh yeah.
kinda-
So just for the uninitiated, right? We kind of talked about how big of a lift it is to develop a VR app. Financial costs
Yeah.
with licensing. Some people may not be aware of like how much hassle you
Well,
have to go through for licensing,
right.
especially for monetization. Yeah.
So as an example, because I don't like to just throw numbers out there, because you know you could come to me with just some really broad plan where it's like, you know, so I don't like to throw numbers out there, but just as an idea for third party cost, Vuforia, they're punks. And I can say that because we've paid them and we have to pay them. So, you know, I don't necessarily have to be nice about it. They initially wanted to take 25% of the gross revenue
Whoa.
for this. Thankfully, that was able to be talked down to a much different number. But if we didn't have such strong talkers and spinners on the team, it might not have been able to happen that way. So, you know, it's crazy stuff like that where you don't begin to imagine that you're going to have to pay a third party cost at 25% at gross. You know, I mean, so yeah, without throwing numbers out there, it can get very expensive before we even actually put our hands on it.
Wow. See, and that's something that I would not have known. I would have jumped head first. And, you know, again, it's not to dissuade anybody who wants to go out there, but you have to be aware of the pitfalls because that's a part of making sure that you can be as successful as you can be, and not just kind of running blindly and falling to pitfall or pothole if you're in Atlanta.
Road plate. The weird metal things.
Weird metal things.
The
road-
plates, the
yeah,
metal
what?
plates.
Why?
To cover up
Laziness.
the
I
pothole.
think. I think it's just pure laziness. There was an artist a while back who had probably the best solution to fixing potholes.
Wanksy.
Wanksy, yeah. For those who know Wanksy, you know what he did. He drew some lewd drawings around some potholes, and it kind of forced them to fix it. And I don't know what's more damaging, man. Those metal plates or just
Yeah.
avoiding the pothole, because
Yeah.
you can't avoid metal plates.
No, you
You
can't.
just got to run over them.
Well, and I don't know about you guys, but we've had them on our road for quite a while
Mm-hmm.
now, and people just like to slow down for no reason to go over them.
Yeah.
Like really, really slow to a creep, like they're about to try and go up a mountain or something. So that's extremely obnoxious when you're trying to get to your
Yeah,
neighborhood
just
road.
adds to the traffic, and next thing you know, more road
It's
rage.
okay though. I was about to say I can just come home and kill some zombies now.
Excellent.
though.
Right,
So it's
right.
good. It's
so
good.
this is going to be a good segue for all of you people who just got out of traffic. Stop by your local CVS, get yourself a shiny yellow tank,
Yep.
and release some of your frustrations
Yeah.
on the zombies.
Absolutely.
Remember, the zombies are the ones causing the potholes, people. So is there anything else that you would like to let our listeners know about before we head out here? I know, Tavio, you had 3D services. You can actually scan yourself as a game asset. Is that correct?
Correct. So about 3 years ago, some partners and I started this ambitious endeavor of creating a full body 3D scanning rig.
Wait, did you make this from top down by yourself?
Yes.
So you're an engineer too.
One of my partners is an industrial engineer, and he actually designed the structure itself, and then I was kind of in charge of making it work. So yeah, we have over 100 cameras inside. You step in, we use photogrammetry to then take that 100 set of photos and then create a digital 3D model of you. And then we can get you 3D printed in full color sandstone, or we can turn you into a digital asset for your augmented reality experiences, virtual reality experiences, or if you're a PC Steam game player, we can put you into a handful of games that are out and available right now.
I've got some thoughts now. See, my tag name is Super M from the Combo Breakers podcast. And I was thinking maybe I could come up in some overalls, some white gloves, maybe hit a little pose. Oh yes.
Yes,
Oh yes.
absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Now, see, here's where I'm going with this too. So when if I wanted to create a game model, right, of myself, do I get that back in the T pose, ready to be rigged, or?
Yeah, so we first provide just the digital scan as the first deliverable. While you're there, we generally get everyone scanned in an A pose, and then we throw that off to one of our riggers or artists, and then they convert that to a proper T pose.
Nice.
If you are a 3D modeler or rigger yourself, we can hand you off the file at that point, or we can rig it for you, and then you're off and running at that point.
That's awesome. You know where I'm about to go with that? I'm going to go straight to a website, and this is a little shameless little plug. It's Mixamo.com, where you can upload your T poses and get all these cool animations. And since I work in Cinema 4D, I'll bring all of those files right back, and I'll have a really sweet animation of me beating all the fighting game characters that I can't beat.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you. So.
Dude, I will be stopping by. Well, with all that being said, I am really, really, really happy that you guys were able to come by and talk to us a bit today about all of your wonderful projects. One more time for the folks at home, can you tell them where they can find the Road Rage toy, where they can find you on the app stores, and where they can find you on the internet? Social media links everywhere. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Plug away.
So you can find us at Life Vision VR on the web. You can find us on YouTube, Artist Life Vision VR. You can also find us on Instagram with the same tags. You can find us on Veer. If anybody is not aware of Veer, it's a VR video platform. They've got thousands of videos on there, and some of those are ours. So it's a good place. And Road Rage can be found in CVS along with the stickers, can be found on Amazon. You can download the ATL AR app on iOS and Android, start activating the city. And yeah, we've got more to come in 2019. So what we're telling you is just this is all backlog stuff. So
Nice.
yeah, we look forward to releasing more in 2019 to let you know the real cooking stuff now.
Cool,
If I
cool.
may.
Yeah.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh.
It's gonna get really fun up in here.
This kid's a beast over here.
I see it in
yeah.
his eyes. He's looking at me like, oh,
it's,
this is gonna,
it's
gonna
gonna
go
be
down.
a lot of fun. It's gonna be really cool. Yeah.
Now, somebody may have this question because we do have a lot of developers who will watch. Can anyone, are they able to join the team if they were interested, or are you looking for people to kind of add to the ranks, or is it kind of like
So-
a private group right now?
Well, no. So it kind of varies, you know. It's a new market, it's a new industry, and there's a lot of benefits towards working as a developer right now. We are in a position where you might not be able to land a job with us. You can be on team, but you might not make any money for a month or two, depending on when the jobs come and who's got seniority and who's better at what. So yes, I would love to hear from anybody, but that we are not running full payroll right now with everybody. You know, so just expectations set where they should be.
Awesome.
We'd love to hear from anybody. You know, and even if it's just to get together and just talk about where the industry's going, you know, that's always fun too. So
Cool.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And may I say one thing really
Yes.
quick? For anybody out there who may not be a developer, but who's really interested in how they could help with the VR or AR realm, this industry needs all the talents that every other industry needs. We need great accountants, you know. We need great legal teams. So if anybody out there is within other industries and wants to, you know, show their services, not just with my company, but I'm sure with many others, you know, that's we are all in need of good other industry people to come into our industry and help us with all that
Absolutely.
other stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point to make because not a lot of people think when they think, oh, I'm into gaming, they think you're just there making
Everyone
the
goes straight to
assets.
coding and
Yeah.
developing and designing, and no, it's a business, so we need all the different aspects there.
Absolutely. Now, but I did forget one thing, right? We did show the game off a little bit before, but you guys had a video as
yeah,
well. Yes.
yeah.
So before Andrew comes back and closes us out officially, can we go ahead and run that video? And for those who kind of came into the stream a little late today, you won't have to go all the way back unless you want to hear our wonderful voices. We have a nice presentation to kind of wrap everything all up.
Yeah. So this is actually the Transmigration Rua Wolf production. This is a augmented promo of the 360 VR video that we showed.
Ooh. All right. And without further ado, roll it.
Hi everybody, I'm about to show you a little augmented reality from Sky Creature Productions' Transmigration debut of Rua Wolf. This is going to be the 360 promo of the VR video that was shown Sunday night. So it's pretty neat. Jeff developed this quick little AR for everybody to experience, and I'd like to share it with all of you online. Here we go. So now you see it's dropped down in my yard. Such a neat way of seeing a story. Really being able to experience it all around. See all of the different characters. So thanks to everybody who came out Sunday, and thank you for all of your support. Thanks, Jeff, for creating this awesomeness, and thanks Sky Creature Productions for making us a part of it.
All right. Thank you for that, guys. Well, to close everything out, I would like to thank everybody who was able to tune in with us today. And thank you, Stephanie, Tavio, and Riley. You guys have been a wonderful, wonderful set of guests today, and I learned a ton. And I'm super excited about everything AR and VR, and I hope you guys out there are just as excited as well. Any last closing words for anybody else?
Thanks for having us. I hope we didn't spoil it too much when we get invited back.
Oh no, you guys are definitely gonna get
My
invited back.
pleasure. Yeah, it
This
was
is
awesome.
fantastic. Thank you guys for having us
No
very
problem.
much.